The revolution in the MU transfer system under Ten Hag. MU has made positive changes in the way they operate in the transfer market after Ten Hag arrived at Old Trafford. So what is going on behind the scenes to help the Reds get quality signings? One of the first things Erik Ten Hag did after arriving at Manchester United was to assemble team scouts to communicate ideas about the players he wanted. In addition to the physical and technical factors, Ten Hag emphasized that new signings must be of high quality. Everyone understands how great the pressure is on Ten Hag, and it forces the 52-year-old leader to be really careful in recruiting. 5 official signings were made in the last summer period according to very strict criteria, which caused the target Marko Arnautovic to be cancelled. As promised, the team's owners have given Ten Hag full authority in the transfer process, and all trust the former Ajax coach to have enough time to research his goals. Ten Hag proves it by harmonizing the players of many previous coaches with a very clear philosophy. The selection of the starting lineup will depend on each opponent and the tactics he wants, which has brought positive results. Behind Ten Hag is a scouting team built up by Director of Football John Murtough and Head of Scouting Steve Brown, both of whom have been with the team for many years and understand what is going on out here. United will rate players against a database called Track Kerman. From the information obtained, Ten Hag and the team of scouts will meet to discuss potential targets. In October 2021, Dominic Jordan was appointed United's first Director of Data Science after the Red Devils admitted they had fallen behind rivals Manchester City and Liverpool in statistical analysis. However, a lot of questions are raised because before coming to United, Jordan worked in the fashion field, and that makes people doubt why he was invited here. Since Sir Alex Ferguson retired, many experienced names have gone. Last April, Jim Lawler and Marcel Bout announced they were leaving the club. Lawler has been at United for 16 years, having played a key role in the recruitment of Nemanja Vidic and Javier Hernandez, while also taking on the role of chief scout. However, the fact that the club wanted Lawler to change the way he worked when playing more than sitting in the office signaled a departure. Lawler also works on the principle of recruiting quality players. Sir Alex always told United scouts, "Never bring me a bad player. If there's no one, don't do it." But the current management feel that this method is not really reasonable because United are no longer in the position they were in under Ferguson, and being picky fish will make it very difficult for the team to buy people. Murtough and Brown believe United have what it takes to bring in good post-Ferguson signings. While it's easy to see how confused United are when it comes to making a rookie purchase, 5 signings last summer got them off to a positive start. Casemiro, Christian Eriksen, Lisandro Martinez, and Antony are asserting their value day by day, while Tyrell Malacia also has its own opportunities. In terms of effectiveness, the summer of 2022 can be considered United's most successful summer since 2007, when they brought in Nani, Anderson, Owen Hargreaves, and Carlos Tevez. Success in the market can only be judged by time, and Ten Hag's coaching ability has been the key factor so far, but certainly the cost of the 5 aforementioned signings has surpassed the original plan and making it impossible for the Red Devils to spend big this January. A move for Cody Gakpo was considered but ruled out just before Christmas, for financial reasons. Joel Glazer has made it public that spending £200 million in the summer will have a big impact on the winter. Despite United's interest in Gakpo, Joel insists they have no money for the deal. PSV Eindhoven then decided to release him to Liverpool for £44 million. Instead, United turned to Wout Weghorst with a loan deal until the end of the season. Everything went smoothly and the Red Devils only took €14 million to complete the deal. The Dutch striker has performed well immediately after joining, and this may help him be more prioritized by Ten Hag in the position of leading the attack. United put themselves at a disadvantage in the summer by making some belated transfer decisions, and it left them off to a bad start with 2 consecutive losses to Brighton and Brentford. Among the subsequent signings, Antony was clearly a controversial decision when the Red Devils had to spend a figure of €95 million and many considered it a better buy than missed deal. Another delay last year came from the Frenkie de Jong deal. Ten Hag even sees this as his number one target in central midfield, and Murtough has tried to facilitate the move. However, everything is condensed in the phrase "takes time" when de Jong has no intention of leaving. It was not until after the defeat against Brighton that United officially gave up the Dutch player, and they certainly felt lucky after bringing in Casemiro. Recruiters have drawn up plans to use Casemiro across various United squads to assess suitability, and meetings have also been held to assess the information surrounding the midfielder. Raphael Varane, when he heard the news, was also an extremely supportive person to promote the deal to bring Casemiro to Old Trafford. However, as mentioned, the decision is only made after the start of the season is too late. Regular attendees of these meetings include Ten Hag, Murtough, and Brown, as well as Technical Director Darren Fletcher, Assistant Manager Steve McLaren, Deputy Director of Football Andy O'Boyle, and Transfer Negotiator Temporary Tom Keane, along with Senior Scouts Simon Wells, Mick Court, and Jose Mayorga. Although they have not worked together for too long, most of the decisions made by this group are very unanimous. O'Boyle started working for United in July but has spent 5 years in the Premier League. The experience in the field helps this name quickly provide United with more in-depth assessments of any target. Another new face is Keane, originally hired in June for an 11-week secondment from the law firm Brand Smiths, where he worked on sports cases. Keane is replacing Matt Judge, a former director of transfer negotiations and a former player's agent. It was he who flew to Madrid with Murtough to negotiate the Casemiro deal, as well as negotiate personal terms with Antony. Keane is also seen frequenting Carrington during the summer, a stark contrast to Judge, who has only appeared in the team's office in Mayfair, central London. That means players can talk more with Murtough, O'Boyle, and Keane about signings and the general situation, to help make decisions more informed. 3 years ago, when United put Odion Ayalo on the transfer list, Woodward and Judge rushed into negotiations at the office without regard to what was happening on the training ground. Murtough wants Carrington to be at the heart of United. United's transfer story is always a matter of discussion in the media, because they used to ignore many potential names. Erling Haaland or Jude Bellingham were once recommended to return to Old Trafford at a very young age. Bellingham was even invited to visit Carrington, but both did not come here. Even if they owned Casemiro this past summer, one of the world's best midfielders, £70 million for a 30-year-old, has clearly benefited Real Madrid after they prepared for departures by bringing in Eduardo Camavinga, 20, and Aurelien Tchouameni, 22. However, that's not all. Alejandro Garnacho is an example of how United were wise to bring in the player from Atletico Madrid. They only paid Atletico a compensation fee of £100,000 in 2020, but Garnacho is now worth many times that figure and has become a factor to look forward to in Ten Hag's squad at the age of 18. United understand that they have the potential to bring in quality names. It is important that actions be more decisive and timely. The Red Devils also need to prove to the players that Old Trafford is always an extremely attractive place. A reorganization of the recruiting department was initiated by Woodward during his time as chief executive, when he decided to modernize. The process was named Project Bethlehem, which alludes to a new era. Much of United's success in the previous transfer market was due to Ferguson's genius intuition. United felt they needed a more scientific approach after Ferguson's retirement. Woodward assigns the task to Murtough. Murtough hired Brown after the two worked together at Everton. Upon arriving at the team, Brown explained that his expertise lay in organizing scouts rather than giving comments to players. Brown was then tasked with attending United games. In a sharing a few years ago, a scout made the point that United have moved away from what helped them win 13 Premier League titles in 21 seasons, players who can operate with speed, quality at high intensity, impressive touch, intelligent thinking, and the ability to perform rapid phases. When Jose Mourinho was manager from 2016 to 2018, the club hired an additional 50 scouts globally, through recruitment firm Nolan Partners. Several interviews were conducted via Zoom, although all final appointees had face-to-face meetings. Some in the industry feel the size and speed of hiring means quality is not guaranteed, although these same people accept that United have made good choices as well. Large geographical areas are covered, but it is argued that a balance is still needed. For example, United have 3 full-time scouts for senior football based in the Argentine capital, Buenos Aires. Their focus is on the Argentine League, but they also include neighboring countries like Chile, Uruguay, and Paraguay. And some argue that it is not so necessary, because the quality of the above tournaments is not too high. In academia, there are 2 types of reports, short and long. A short might include feedback on several players, in the form of a question and answer, ending with 3 things a scout liked about that player and 3 things they didn't like. A long report contains more details about a player. A scout also scores each player with the symbol A, B, C or D. Class B indicates a player who can play for United but is not fit enough to play regularly for the first team. While the A class is awarded to players who are able to continue to make an impact for the club. At the premium level, the scoring is similar but with additional elements that give it its own nuance. 2 former employees, who spoke on condition of anonymity, felt the system was inconsistent because there were successful players, including Champions League winners, who didn't fit United's style and were still awarded A ranks. The scouts do not have access to each other's reports. There is a login to the database kept for a small group because United want to ensure independent thinking. That secrecy could also extend to Carrington, where coaches have not previously seen reports on players under their charge. Murtough and Brown insist that all information is collected and processed as appropriate. However, scouts may not be able to follow the progress of negotiations with the player's agent or be informed of the reasons for the deals to fall apart. There was a case with a player who was only 13 years old at the time. Reports allege that United needed to sign a contract immediately. But no one at Carrington responded by email or phone until the player joined another big European club years later. In the fall of 2019, Woodward was proud of the progress made and publicized how United had recruited Aaron Wan-Bissaka from a group of 804 right-backs. However, many insiders think United should be more subtle, because they can completely narrow down the number of players to consider. A former coach also insists United just need to focus on a group of 20 people is enough. But the reason for all of this lies in the Red Devils' own recruitment team. An employee at a rival club once shared that, instead of a recruitment process, they just implemented a reporting system. Or as another unnamed former employee put it, if you have too much information from many sides, or from people who don't understand the standards well, you can't make good decisions. After that, a group of analysts also commented on the player despite having no experience. I fully support statistical analysis, it's really useful, but it's completely useless to the uninformed. Of course, football is always full of opinions, and United feel that their negotiations so far have been fruitful. Debates have also expanded over which matches scouts should attend. A few years ago, a foreign scout wanted to change his job from a first-team match in the second division, where he felt there were no names worth watching, to a youth team match that had the participation of 2 of the nation's biggest clubs. Brown again refused it and forced him to follow the original plan. As the system was evolving, Brown wanted to maintain control and did not want changes. But now, things are much more comfortable. Brown wants scouts to be masters of their market, empowering scouts to personalize choices about the players they want to track to increase efficiency. A key element of United's approach to transfers has been the ownership of the Glazer family. Joel Glazer is almost very slow to sign off on spending decisions, including the minimum spending of the club. Insiders claim that decisions at Manchester United are in any case crippled by group thinking. That is, everything will not be decided until everyone agrees. An owner of a team in the English First Division was surprised by the amount of time it took to negotiate with Man United just to borrow one of their players. Ronaldo, in his interview with Piers Morgan, also took aim at United's hierarchy. The Portuguese star has complained many times about instructions from his superiors since returning to Carrington. At least this is about to change when Ten Hag shows up at Old Trafford. And it can be seen that the Dutch coach's voice is very important in buying and selling players. Another area where United should do better is to increase their transfer budget by selling players at the right time. The loan model across Europe is also mentioned as a way to enhance the value of young players. Fletcher was the main voice in this process at the academy. Fletcher has many ties to domestic football, and that makes it easier for United to create a loan system in England. Most recently, Hannibal was loaned out, and Tahith Chong was sold Birmingham City this season. The sale of James Garner to Everton surprised fans, but it can be seen that Mew acted decisively. Ten Hag will evaluate the names that are not qualified for the first team, and those players will quickly have to leave. There will be a similar discussion about Dean Henderson, currently on loan at Forest, at the end of the season. Tony Coton, United's main goalkeeper scout, has travelled across Europe in search of a future replacement for David De Gea. Ten Hag said he did not want a temporary target with a low budget, and that led to Martin Dubravka being immediately returned to Newcastle and replaced by a loan contract with Jack Butland. Murtough also appeared in many countries in search of targets. In early October, he attended the matches between Inter Milan against Barcelona and Juventus against Maccabi Haifa in the Champions League. Murtough has appeared in many places and befriended many representatives of the players. Murtough has recorded United training ground videos to send to potential targets to help them get a feel for the environment that awaits them in Manchester. The Red Devils were also unaffected by the recent performance in Qatar. Brown himself once said, "We don't sign players in the World Cup." However, Ten Hag will always want to explore every opportunity to strengthen his squad. Back in August, the Dutchman was frustrated when he shared that it took him an hour to explain why United were having trouble signing players. The hope is that their transfer business will go more smoothly this summer. The proper preparations for the targets were already underway, as everyone knew Ten Hag would be the manager.